Thank you. I'm really excited to be part of this panel today. This is a near and dear topic for me and my team and for Lands End as a whole. But I have got some great panelists, and I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves.
I'm Scott Cohen. I'm the email marketing manager at 1-800-CONTACTS. You've been with Lands End for 14 years. I've been with Contacts for 14 months. And I've been in the email space for a decade. That's kind of hard to believe. And yes, to answer this question once and for all, no, I don't wear contacts. Yes, these are glasses from an eyeglasses brand we own called Lingo Eyewear. I'm happy to give you the website after this.
Hi, I'm Dana Jones, and I work at Southern Company managing the email marketing communication. We're a power and energy company, so Georgia Power, Alabama Power, and Mississippi Power. I work with different partners from all three, and then gas teams to help with their email communication. I am a graduate student at the University of Georgia working on my MBA and finishing in 2020, and I'm from Atlanta, Georgia.
Good morning, I'm Carrie Ugarte, and I work with Wiley Education Services, and I manage the marketing automation team. Wiley Education Services is a division of Wiley, and you've probably heard of them if you've opened a textbook or cited them in your APA citations on your papers. We are a division of them, and we do online program management. So let's say that you're a university and then you would like to offer your MBA online. My company would offer that full service for you. So we do everything from lead generation to building out your actual degree program course of study. The only thing we don't do is teach.
Okay, great. So we've heard the mind-blowing question about hot dogs. Right, everybody, okay, hot dogs, bands. And so I'm going to start with an easy question for the group. If you could go back in time and meet one person from history, who would that be? Now, I did not let them know this question was coming in advance, so this is going to really catch them a little bit. Tick-tock.
I played saxophone growing up, big jazz fan. I'd love to meet Miles Davis.
I would say more recently I've discovered the comedic genius of Richard Pryor. So I'd say Richard Pryor. I think it would be really funny.
That would be a nice.
This is hard for me. It's funny, I'm going to get all mushy, but I immediately thought that I wish I would have met my husband sooner. I think he might be watching, so that's why I said it.
Well, that's going to be hard to top. All right, so when we talk about content or personalization, you just can't start without talking about data. So you're segmenting content. So from a data standpoint, to kind of set the stage, what types of data do you use for your segmentation? Talk about that.
Scott's looking at me, so I'll go. So we use a lot of data points with regard to prospective students. They come into the funnel and they're a brand new lead, a new inquiry, and they go through a sales stage. So we use a lot of sales stage data to segment our audiences. We also use completion of an application, so a percentage completion. So if they've started it but not completed it, we'll use that percentage of data or that percent to reach out to them. It could be anything also from behaviors. If they aren't engaging with us, we might reach out to them via email or SMS versus someone that is engaged with us. We might reach out to them personally through the sales team.
Okay, so we use a lot of location-based data, especially if there's a storm. A lot of times we'll be on storm duty, so we target people based on where they are. We target renters and homeowners differently. We also segment based on income. Everyone gets a score in terms of their, credit. And we target people based on that. Like, are you a good person for this offer, or are you a good person for an offer for prepay? If your credit's not that good, we might sign you up for something that's prepay to help get you started. So those are a couple of the metrics we use. We also used, are they really likely to engage on digital channels? We look at stuff like that because those are the people that are going to be most engaged when we send the content to them. And the other group is most engaged when we send direct mail.
we're a prescription business, so what kind of contacts you wear, what the parameters are, those are the things we collect. How much of the product, so it's a 3-month supply, 6-month supply, 12-month supply. There's a lot of data we collect. Is there any other healthcare companies in the room? Raise your hand, anybody? So you know about HIPAA, obviously. So there's sort of two portions of HIPAA that we have to, there's use and exposure. So we can use some of this data in terms of how we segment our audiences and message to them, particularly on months of supply and things like that when we think they're going to come back. A lot of our customers buy a 12-month supply and they go away. I mean, you're not going to read about contact lenses 12 months of the year, let's be fair. But we don't do things like you drop in here's your base curve, here how your eyes are, you have astigmatism, things like that. We don't drop that in because we can't. So we collect a lot of data. We don't use a lot of it because of HIPAA and other concerns, but I mean, if you've bought from us, we know a lot about you.
That's a great point, because I think a lot of times we look at what types of data we have on specific customers. And so the question for all of you is, do you feel you have the right data? And do you feel that it's accurate? And how do you know that it's accurate?
If we have a complication in our business that we call the multi-member household. So if you are a parent and you order contacts for yourself and then you're also ordering contacts for your kids, or we have some customers that are actually team doctors for sports teams, and so they do all of the contacts for the people on the team through one customer base. So if you're just by yourself, it's really easy. We have your prescription on file, or we get you to send us an updated one, and we can use that and remind you to buy contacts. But when it's multiple members, it's all right, who has a valid prescription on file, who doesn't, who ordered and then hasn't come back because they've ordered from their doctor. Doctors are our biggest competitors, because you go to the doctor's office, get a new prescription, and odds are the doctor's going to be like, come on, buy them here. They're cheaper, in quotation marks. And so in terms of accuracy, we hope so, because we have to have it correct, because we won't ship it if we don't have a valid prescription on file. So it's imperative for us to be accurate. But when it comes time to email, for those multi-member households, we have one email address for anywhere between 2 to 1,000 customers. Now, the people who have 1,000 on the same account, I think we have 10 customers that are in that boat, but most of it is between 2 and 4 on our multi-member list.
I think we have a similar issue. Like Scott said, we might have maybe 3 or 4 emails for one household. So if we're looking at the person that's most likely to engage on digital, it might not be the primary email address. So we're currently moving over to a new ESP, and that's something we're looking at. Do you take all 8 from the household, or do you take the best one from the household? How do we know who's who that's exploring the website? And how can we make sure that our data is the most up-to-date, so we're targeting the right person in the household who's maybe the decision maker, or the person in the household who is likely to engage on digital that we'd love to drive to our giveaway on Facebook. So
we kind of have the opposite, where we might have one person in our database multiple times because we have like 10 different MBAs. And the way our organization is organized is that we have 60 different partners. So we could have potentially one person in our database multiple times inquiring about different degree programs, but they are completely siloed. And our biggest issue, our biggest scare and mistake would be brand bleed. So we have 60 different partners. We have about 300 different programs. So our data is specific down to the program level. So data accuracy is key when you're delivering an email, you're delivering content that's based on relevant admission requirements for that specific program. The accuracy has to be there. Otherwise, we're delivering inaccurate information to our customers, and they don't know how to apply or what they need to apply for our degree programs. I think also the right data, you asked about that, it evolves. And so just being able to be agile and to pivot on what that right data is, and then in the process of being agile and pivoting, doing that QA on the accuracy of what you have. And we work very closely with our IT team and very closely with our brand team, because my team is not going to be able to accurately QA 9,000 fields, which is what we used in our last, like, all partner, we call our universities partners, our all partner automation. We had over 9,000 fields we had to QA. So we had to really partner with the IT team, one, to give us the fields so that we could integrate that into our system, and then two, work with the brand team, and we did roll it out in phases, so we didn't do all of that at one time. But work with them to help ensure that that accuracy is there and that we're delivering a perfect product to our potential students.
Okay, so for all of us that are actively involved in email on the brand side, sending things out, the one thing interesting about it is we have to rely on partners in the organization to provide us with the content. So my question for all of you would be, first, is your email content unique, or is it shared across channels? And then with that, what challenges do you see with that creation?
So I'll start with the challenges, because that might be a little bit easier. But our challenge is that we don't own all the content, right? So we can't develop it, we can't produce all of it. Some of it we can, and that's when I feel like we are the most efficient and the most agile. But we don't own all of it, so I think that's the biggest challenge. And then the channels that have the potential to use it are all over the organization, but the channels that actually are using it right now, so that's another challenge, is like getting other departments buy-in to use the data, because it's relevant and it can be agile, and that you can integrate with. We house all of our content in Sales Cloud, and we're able, because of the bidirectional communication with our marketing automation platform, which is acoustic, we can use a custom integration called Scribe to actually change content from Sales Cloud to HTML and add that to our emails. So we have the ability to really customize our emails and the output of those emails. So the different channels, it could be website, it could be media. They're not using it at this time, but I think that's definitely an opportunity for us. The channels that are using it are our team for marketing automation, and then also for SMS. We are also using it to pull in data for our text messaging.
Dana?
So I think there are definitely a lot of challenges, like Carrie said, but I would say we share a lot of content, or at least try to share content in terms of the brand standards. So that's really helpful. We keep those or maintain those in mostly all the content that we send. We work with, I work really closely with brand strategists to help get out content and deliver it on time. And then they work really closely with stakeholders. So stakeholders across our organization have different roles. Like, I might have someone come to me who wants to do a partnership with electric vehicles and Lyft. So that person's focus is electric vehicles and, driving revenue from that partnership. So everybody has a different objective for what they want to send, and the brand strategists help make sure the brand value is in all our content. And then I really work with them to uncover how to optimize the best send time and different ways to continue the campaign and different ways to reach the audience at the right time.
We're just entirely revenue focused, so the website is optimized to get somebody to buy contacts as quickly as possible. Our emails are optimized that literally from email to you get an order confirmation is 3 clicks. So my challenge is, one, I like to say we have the same damn email syndrome. We literally send 4 variations of content every week, and it's literally the same email. We test, don't get me wrong, we're testing every week, but the control keeps winning, which if anybody in the room who's lost incessantly on tests knows it drives you crazy, because you're like, just test, great. Why do my customers just like to see we're ready for your order every week? But it works. My channel drives 30% of the company's revenue directly. If we did indirect, it's closer to 45%. So if we don't mail, we don't make money. So it's kind of like, all right, we have to test that. So my challenge now, and my team's challenge, is that For people that we call pre-market, which is, like I said, the people who bought 12 months supply a month ago, they're going to start getting, after 30 days, buy now messaging for the next 11 months until they're really ready to come back. And we know that's not ideal, but also you can be in pre-market for 9, 10, 11 months. So some people buy early, some people buy late, some people add members to their account. And when we talk about what we test, you're talking about with other channels, our social, we have a relatively new social media director who's awesome, has been doing this great content on Instagram. We pulled in that content in email, it failed. The website did some CTA tests where they went from order now to buy now. It worked on the website. We did that in email, it failed. And you have to think about where people are in each channel in the cycle. Like if they order now means there's a process involved when you're in email. Buy now, we thought, well, if we just put buy now in there, it'll mean the same thing. I think people thought if we click buy now in an email, it's done. They don't have to do the other 2 clicks. So those are these little nuances that we keep trying to test while we're starting to build out other content for non-revenue driving pieces that frankly is kind of unheard of in an organization because we're so focused on revenue.
All right. So when thinking of the top of the funnel for content, are your segments kind of considered or contemplated when your creative is built? Do segments enter into that? Do you have any input in what photography is created or what assets are built out for the other channels?
I think in our case, the segmentation is considered as they create the content. Most of our content has a hero image, so they're picking a hero image that meets the lifestyle of maybe an older couple or a very technology-driven household. So they're considering it then, and they're also considering it in what they write, and we also think about it in the subject line and the send time. Like, how are we going to reach this segment and communicate to them in a language that they want to be spoken to in? So we're definitely considering it as we create and in the process, and it's part of the strategy pretty early on, the segment.
Yes and no, I would say. Certainly in email we have segments we have what we call bi-cycle segments. So are they pre-market, are they what we consider in-market, or we have several post-market. We have what we call a dead file, which it means you haven't purchased in several sort of cycles afterward of where we think you should come back based on if you order a 12-month supply, you should be ready to order in 12 months. But anybody who wears contacts in the room, how many stretchers in this room? Be honest. Yeah. You're the people that make me wake up at night. Or the people who wear glasses and contacts, part-timers, and we don't know who they are, but we're asking those questions. But in terms of sort of the multi-channel approach, like I said, the website, we're just in the sort of the beginning stages of getting really good at, if we don't have a valid prescription on file for you, we'll message you about it in email, and then the website will talk to you about it in the same way. We haven't done much in SMS and push yet, but we're working on that. But email has been a large driver of that segmentation for a long time, and we're really pushing that into the other channels more effectively.
And I would say both. So I think sometimes there's a segment that maybe isn't performing or isn't engaging, and so that drives what the content is going to be. For instance, we had probably, I think it was 30% of our database we were never able to contact. And our old business model was either contact via phone or email, phone being the majority of that push. And so in an effort to kind of create efficiency, we developed an automation to reach out to that audience so that the sales team didn't have to do it anymore. And it proved to be very successful, and change management was awesome and incredible on that. Everybody loved that they didn't have to reach out to the audience anymore, especially because it had been proven to be a 0.02% ROI. And through automation and the program that we created and the content that was created for the audience, we were able to actually increase it to a 0.03% ROI. So that was a great win for us where the segment drove the content. But I also think that there's other things where we try to create excitement or we try to create interest in the degree program that the prospective student has inquired about. So we do these things called webinars. And basically one of our sales members, which we call program managers, will do a live Q&A session and just present more information about the program. And in that case, we have the content, and now we have to figure out which audience we're going to send that communication to, and hopefully create excitement about that webinar, and then hopefully that in turn converts that student to apply for our program.
Okay, great. So you've got the content. How do you track or tag that creative so that you know that you're using it at the right time? Scott, you gave a great example of timing. Anything else anybody would add?
Well, we use Adobe Analytics to track our analytics. So we look at the, a big report I've been looking at is the traffic driven to the website from email content over the last year, even month to month, seeing how many people are coming from our email content to the web, and then also talking with our strategists, because some of their objectives are just brand awareness for email content. So just helping them understand, you know, like an email, for the most part, it should drive an action from a customer, and we want that action to come to the website. So let's look at better ways that we can make sure that's happening. And I think the reports from Adobe Analytics and also from our email service provider helped me show them, like, hey, we sent it to 1 million customers, but only 10,000 came to the website. So maybe we need to tweak what we did this time to make it better next time and get more engagement.
Yeah, I would echo that. We use Adobe Analytics and our naming conventions for our campaigns are ridiculous. It's something dot something dot something dot 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 dot. I think but that's how we do it, and that's how I can sit here and go 30% comes directly from email. Which is nice. I wish I could say we have a CMS that we use. My organization's pretty decentralized. We are in an agile development environment, so we have a mobile team. We have, or I should say, an app team. That's more accurate than a mobile team. We have, multiple web teams focused on different things, and we're getting better about actually talking to each other, but like I said, there's no centralized CMS. So for us to tag our campaigns, we use Cordial as our ESP, and they do a lot of what it's HTML includes. I think it would be other pieces and other platforms, however they want to call it. And so we track it there, and then we actually, one of my team members built from scratch what we call the Automation Bible, and we call it right now the Old Testament. Hopefully we're going to be building the New Testament here pretty soon, but it's literally where, what automations are being sent out, what their naming conventions are. We do quarterly reporting on that, and, we keep up to date on any changes we make to both content and the segments.
Okay. So the holy grail for all of us here as we think about content is management and scale. Right? If you think back to the way emails have been built historically, I know at Land's End, we built a single email. It took 33 hours for us to build that one email. And so in order for us to move ahead, use the segments, use the data that we're all accustomed to having now, we've had to learn how to take that content and then organize it and manage it. So I'm just interested, I think everyone else would be, do you have some secret tips or anything that you do special to organize that content library once it's built?
So like I said before, we use Salesforce Sales Cloud. It's kind of our North Star, and it may not have been intended to be used that way, but it works for us. And that, we actually attempted to use the acoustic version of Content Hub, and we did a lot of tagging and a lot of tracking in there, and it just wasn't as easy for us because our entire organization is in Salesforce, like from sales team all the way up. So it just made it easier because everybody was already logging in there, that people could see the data there and update it. So we also have reporting built in Salesforce where we're able to QA that in a very quick and easy manner. So we can pull that report and just look down the entire spreadsheet and say, okay, this has a question mark instead of an apostrophe, or this person forgot to put the $ in this area, or this field is actually blank. So that's how we've been able to organize it. Like I said, it might be a little unconventional, but it works very well for us. And it also allows us to, if there is a tuition update or a cost per hour update for that individual program, because like we have it down to the program, the personalization and the data down to that level, we can go in and update that, and by 10 o'clock p.m., we have a nightly update. The next day, all the emails, all the automated programs, everything's updated. That goes the same for our branding, our colors, our logos. We make an update in one place, and it's updated throughout. And actually, I think I said that wrong. I think it's updated now to where program and our university partner data is updated every hour. It used to be a nightly, but we've gotten it down to every hour.
So I would say we're really decentralized, and all of our content isn't in one place, and I bet a lot of people have that same story. So what I try to do is kind of focus on the part of the process that I do own, which is making sure the content gets out and making sure it gets in our ESP and delivered at a certain time in the reporting. And we've been doing that, or experimenting with doing that in Microsoft Planner. So starting tasks in there and assigning them to different people, managing the audience there, and then also managing the HTML. If there's changes to the HTML, just tracking who's going to do that, creating checklists to manage, expectations around when the email is going to go out, the best timing. We've been using that for maybe the last 4 or 5 months, and I think we have a good system between me and the brand strategists who get the content out the door. But the content creation part, I'm not as hands-on with, so I think most of our content is kept in Adobe. Yeah, I think it's all built and kept there, and hopefully we're sharing it there, but I don't access it as much. So I'm really focused on making sure the other part of the process that I do manage is moving smoothly, and I think we kind of have a decent little groove going with that, and Microsoft Planner has served us pretty well.
I'll be real quick. We did a rebrand over the summer, so our big transition was going from old brand to new brand and the do no harm philosophy. We are in the process of building, and I think the OG Chris Jenner alluded to this yesterday, and everyone's been talking about building templates and content blocks. We're in the process of building a design system so that when we come up with new content, it's like, great, we want it to be laid out this way. Don't reinvent the wheel every time we want to do a new test. And so that's where we're moving to right now.
So kind of a last question for me, or from me. You've all talked about some of the systems that you utilize for email and content, and one thing that I'm challenged with frequently with personalization is balancing the desire for more and more segments and personalized content with the return on that investment. I'm constantly hounded by different brand managers, divisional managers who want more and more and more in very small segments that don't really pay. And they don't really want to hear that takes more effort than it's worth. So how do you individually balance that need?
I'm probably not the right person to ask that question because we can't cross-sell anything. But yeah, there's certainly, I think somebody mentioned yesterday, the juice has to be worth the squeeze, and you have to ask yourself that question every time somebody asks you to do something, because you can go, wow. I mean, for example, we've been working on 2020 initiatives, and we thought, oh, this one initiative around this piece of information, getting more customers to send us this information is huge. And then when we looked at it, we're like, wow, it's maybe worth $1 million. Whereas these other initiatives are worth $25 million. Where are we going to, it's important and we need to do it, but are we going to prioritize that over the piece that's going to make us what we think will make us $25 million? So is the juice worth the squeeze? Ask that every time.
I always try to just use the metrics. Say like, well, here's where we tried to do this before, here's kind of the results, and if we'd like to do it again, here's how we can do it better, or maybe we shouldn't do it again and we should try something different. So that's my easy way of trying to get out of, or convince them to do things differently.
So I was actually thinking about that this morning because we have been asked, my team, had been asked recently to send out an email communication to students, current students who have dropped out, but we want them to go back in, and we call them re-enters. And unfortunately, that population, that database is kept in an Excel spreadsheet. So that doesn't pose well for us because all of our opt-outs are based on a unique identifier from Salesforce, and that unique identifier isn't connected. So they come to us and they say, hey, Carrie, can you guys get this out next week? And I'm like, no. But you don't want to say no. I never want to say no. So it's how are you going to help me accomplish this? So that's the balance for me is your data clean? No brainer. Or do you have it? No brainer. Is it clean? No brainer. I can do that. And then secondly, how are you going to partner with me to accomplish this and get this effort done that you want to do? And if there's a great partnership there, then I think that's easy. And then my third thing would be to come up with a peripheral type of solution. And so this morning, I was talking to my team, and I was like, hey, we should just do a text message instead of an email. You don't have to worry about branding. We already have the fields built. It's a simple message like, hey, are you interested in coming back this semester? If so, reply yes. And thankfully, about 6, 8, maybe 10 months ago, we developed a team, and we call it the omni-channel team, and they are responsible for all incoming responses. So, and that team was somewhat birthed out of my team wanting this additional channel and to use this additional channel so we don't have to monitor the responses, and it's so much easier than building some kind of blind form in the background in an email that if they click yes, it goes to this salesperson, and doing all that. That's too much, and we can't accomplish that in 1 week. We can do it, we just can't do it in 1 week. And so just being able to reply, yes, I'm still interested, or no, and clean our database. Then we don't reach out to you anymore. Or, if that student service coordinator wants to say, well, why, what's the reason, that's their prerogative, but we don't have to waste our time on that audience anymore. So that's like a double bonus for us.
Any questions?
Yeah, we have time for questions. No. It's all on the record.
Scott, with the challenges you're having with testing your subject lines, have you thought about talking to somebody like a Frazee who could offer alternatives you haven't thought about to that control that keeps winning?
I have. I think it was the Frazee person yesterday who said that oftentimes creative teams don't want to let go of control. I am in the fortunate position that I have a dedicated designer and copywriter from our creative team. That's a reasonably new thing. That was probably about a month and a half, 2 months ago that really became a reality. But in terms of scalability, believe me, I have a note to go fight for some budget for that sort of thing, because it can't scale. The question is how much is too much and how much can be scaled. And I don't have a 20-person team. I have a 3-person team plus me. And just being able to do more with that would be great.
Hi, Chuck from Webula over here. AMP is a content strategy, I believe. Are you all focused on creating AMP emails? Because I think that puts the power of the transaction in the email marketer's hands. Are you doing that?
No, not yet.
No.
I know what it is, and it hasn't been a priority right now, but I can see us maybe 6 months from now looking at it. We're just not, our program isn't ready yet.
I just have a question. Is anybody doing AMP? I think as a practitioner, I'd like to learn if it's really working, because if Google embraces it and it becomes a real standard, it puts the power of, buy now in the email versus going to a website. So you have a lot of control, and it sounds awesome. I don't just know if it's working.
That was my question. Back to you. Is which ESPs accept that?
Yeah, I think once there's more support for it from the ESPs, that's great. It would make sense for my audience because I'm 54% Gmail in my total active list. I don't know if that's becoming reality. I mean, Gmail is becoming like mobile, where it's eventually just the percentages keep going up. It'd be a good, I mean, that's enough of an audience base to go, yeah, it's worth the test. But again, it goes to support.
We've tested not necessarily AMP, but the structured data with the promo codes or different features about expirations and stuff like that. One of the biggest challenges there is that it's on Gmail to decide if they want to display it. So it's hard to read results because you have no idea if it was rendered in the way that you included it, how did it affect open rate, maybe 2% of your users saw it, maybe 100% of your users saw it. So it's been real inconsistent, which is a little different than AMP, being able to have the actions directly in email, but something to consider. I don't know if you guys have tested that in terms of the structured data as part of the message.
Not yet. And I say not yet, I don't even have a timeline on that one. Like I said, since we're so geared towards 3 clicks to order, I would much rather work everywhere and be ugly and work than for us to really try pretty things. Because like I said, I mean, it'd be one thing for cross-selling for Land's End where you can do lots of things. For me, it's, all right, it's time to order contacts, let's go. I just say, I send it and get out of the way.
And our buying cycle is a complete application. It's like 50 questions, so.
Well, there's a topic for the roundtable. Dan, panel, thanks again. That was great.